reading schedule for the year, which I have done. I was just waiting to hear from Steve Bridgens, who has not gotten back to me. So when I get home this evening, I'm going to send you the whole list, and then if I hear from him later on, I do. So, and if anyone wants a copy of that entire list, I'm happy to email it to you. If you send me your email, I'll just send you the whole list for the year. That way you don't have to ask me when a reading is or who is going to be on it. That might change a little bit, but not much. All right. I'd like to thank you guys for being here. Like I was saying to Ken, like in the winter, I'm hesitant to even program anything because I'm never sure how many people we're actually going to get. But our next reading here is March 8th. March 8th, and Jason is going to read with Murray Thomas. And I knew Murray when he lived in California. I think now he's living around Boston. But I'll be happy to see him here. Okay. So with that, I'm just going to start calling people up. We don't have too many people. So I am just going to welcome up Ken.
So Agnes is, or not Agnes, I'm sorry, Sharon Singing was going to be editing a book. She's working with Jason that's Benefit the Children of Palestine. And so here, I just brought this in for you. I don't know if you've seen it in any of her email. Good, cool.
So Ken, when is that scheduled to happen?
Here, you can have that.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I thought I'd start out by...
Feel free to put my stuff there.
No, very good, right there. Yeah. So I'd start out by reading one of Sharon's poems that is in No One Sees the Irony. Hi, Caitlin. Not even the dead. A boy, face smudged with grime, carries a scrawny kitten. His sisters and their cousins struggle to keep up. Makeshift crutches pinch their arms as they practice walking with just one leg each. A bit of happiness was discovered in the rubble. They had the forlorn-looking feline hand it to his smiling mother. What a blessing, she cries aloud. Another mouth to feed, she silently considers. The constant buzz of drones invades sleep. Bombs drop without reason. There is no place to hide. She makes tea with only water and a bit of lemon peel found yesterday. This must suffice as their evening meal. Across the hill, bulldozers defile graves, toss shrouded bodies into piles, demolish stone markers, smooth the ground, erect walls for a military encampment. Here, in this hell, not even the dead will find peace. So that's from Sharon Singing. All right, now we're reading a handful of my poems. Desire or destination? Distance from a well that holds more than my thoughts and less of what I know slips through my fingers. Each turn of the wheel in my hands leads closer to, farther from, a destination that's always out of reach. My priorities never crystallized. Am I coming or going? Am I content or just satisfied with being satisfied? The answers are less clear the closer I come to the truth. Never to return. This is a short one. Homeless in their wanderings, my thoughts are like flat stones that skip one time, yet never return to the water. Trivial and not so. They leave random currents that brush the edges of my mind. Details always out of reach. Thank you. This is someone I knew fairly well. I'm an acquaintance, but she was a wife of a co-worker. I have not seen her in 20 years, and you never saw her without a cigarette in her hand. A wave of the hand. In fact, I actually have that in here in the well-versed, and I can read it out of here. A wave of the hand. The sense I see within my haze remains obscure to you in all your clarity. On the one hand, nearly half my life lies before me. In my other hand, I hold that which took his life away. Washing my hands of it, snuffing it out, means facing that he is gone. Its connection to that time, a father's voice passed on to his daughter, brings needed comfort and outweighs the harm it causes me. There is time enough to shed my reliance upon it. There will never be enough time to recover from what I've lost. So forgive the wisp of smoke as I talk with my hands. I prefer that it not all be so clear, surrounded as I am by this haze. Thank you. So, as a result of this whole thing with my health crisis back in October, was they also found that I have a liver infection, and it's being pretty stubborn. It doesn't affect the way I feel, at least not in the last 3 months now. But as a precaution, I have not had anything to drink since. And I never was a big drinker, maybe 3 or 4 beers in the course of a week. But there was a time when I didn't drink a hell of a lot more, but I drank at the wrong times. Driven to sobriety. 2 a.m., end of shift. 12-minute drive home after one stop down the street, well before last call. Only 1 or 2 nights a week, when Paul insisted on a quick one, then poured down 3 rum and cokes in 30 minutes before driving home, while I nursed my second gin and tonic as I talked to Tony, who poured my third. That one done by 3, followed by a reckless drive home, a time-lapse experience that went on too long, ending abruptly when I finally woke up and went into a 15-year drought that ended when I decided to drink responsibly. Thank you. So yeah, for 15 years, okay, maybe a glass of wine at holiday dinner, but yeah. All right, Attica. This is a bit of a memoir poem, memoir. Attica. Where are the stories of my youth? Nothing sticks, but random memories like disjointed slideshow surface when I least expect. Where would the rest be without home movies to jog around between my ears, rattling loose singular moments, crammed into recesses that starve for the light of day? An uncle doing his best for his family, working maintenance at a prison notorious even before it gained true notoriety. 7 kids and 3 adults in a small farmhouse, attic crannies carved into tiny bed spaces, no headroom. Beside the top of stairs that might have led to a bedroom, aunt and uncle probably sleeping downstairs, and grandpa, who knows where. None of this retained by a 70-year-old looking back at his 7-year-old self. But there's Grandpa, cigarette dangling from his lips, stepping out of the 39 school bus turned chicken coop. Giddy boxer at his feet, starving for affection. Thank Dad and his home movies for those childhood memories. And my father had boxes and boxes of reels and movies, and I had the half that actually applied to me. 10 years ago, I had them converted over to digital, so then I got them to people that would really appreciate them. Memory bank. Scattered, like the gray matter that assigns them value. Their significance lost to most observers are the things I treasure. Gallon jars filled with beach glass collected on the shores of Lake Ontario. Anchors and bottles, some of them clay, all used and discarded before my time, found during underwater adventures. Some of my favorite times. A box filled with negatives and photos older than most of my possessions. Hand-colored wedding photos taken 9 months before my birth. 100-year-old portraits of family I'll never meet or meet again. Their place on my wall taken by artwork from the hands of treasured friends. A metal box, once home to Egyptian cigarettes, passed on by my grandfather, now holding items left untouched for half a century. Ink pen tips, the name tag from my first job as a store clerk. A devotional scapular not worn in 60 plus years, a highlight of my youth, even in its insignificance. It's the metal box that's a treasure. A spatula held by my mother as she served pie or cake. The tiny mission-style table that once belonged to her as a teen, that I refinished as a teen, now sitting beside my recliner. Tools, smoothed by my father's hands, feel comfortable in my own. The grandfather clock I built for their anniversary will one day chime for my children. The band worn on my wrist, a bond between a father and daughter forged in the health crisis of her early years. A stained glass frame and its photo, a father's pride and 3 broad smiles. A canvas print of 2 people joined in marriage beside a lighthouse on the shore of Lake Erie. As scattered as my memories can be, the value of my treasures is magnified by the memories they hold. The closer I hold them, the longer I hold on to those memories, my greatest treasure. And I'm gonna pack it in right there. Thank you all.
Mark, who did all this?
This is Oswaldo, and I don't have my phone with me because it's being used, and I haven't said his name enough. He is a graduate student at Mizzou,
Okay.
and he spent a little time here last summer at OAC, and he's probably going to be here for a couple of weeks, a couple months this summer coming up. Oswaldo is from north of Mexico City,
Okay.
and yeah, it's refreshing to have this kind of color in here.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting stuff.
But he's knee deep or neck deep in graduate work right now because he graduates in a couple weeks, months. So we'll probably see him in June.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Ken, I was going to ask you, and you may not know the answer to this. With this project, do you know, are they planning some sort of launch event?
I don't know.
I was just thinking about a thing to raise money, which is like when Jason was doing this book series in Kansas City, they would have a launch event, and you would pay an entry fee, but your entry fee gave you a copy of the book.
Yeah.
So I just think it might be useful to raise money to do something like that.
Okay.
And then you get a lot of copies of the book out there too.
All right.
Because I would, if someone came to me and told me that, I would pay like $15 to do it, then you get a copy of the book too.
I'll mention it to her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
And that may be the case, so, yeah. But she'll be glad to hear that, you know, if she hadn't thought of it herself, so.
Well, you know, it's for children, and I just think it'd be a super cool thing to do, and then that way people would know the words get out there too, because automatically.
Yeah, and she had said to me, she says, I know you've written some poems about Palestine, so look them over. Well, the problem is, what she wants to do, or feels necessary, is to avoid any negative light on Israel, because there will be too much negative attention. So it's about the situation without pointing fingers, I think, is what
Oh no, I don't, you know,
Yeah.
that's not my intention. I'm just trying to think of ways you could raise more money.
Oh, no, yes, that, it definitely, she'll be glad to hear that.
But, all right. So with that, I'm going to welcome up Jason.
It's called Excerpts of the Great American Dream. A blood orange sun has risen this morning from the steaming mountain of a compost heap in the backyard, and a sharp breath of November wind is slipping in through a window left cracked open through the night, wherein I went to bed a standard issue, privileged white male, but woke up a butterfly in the inner eye of a hurricane, only to wake again, for real this time, I'm sure, staring up at the network of cracks in the ceiling, feeling for some reason like a gas-bloated body rising to the placid, glass-like surface of a pond on a posh country club golf course, somewhere in the exurbs of the Great American Dream. This is called Keep Moving. It's vaguely a Tolkien-esque poem. I'm kind of surprised, and it was published in a magazine called the Lothlorien Review.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but I've found that the best way to navigate one's path through some of life's hairier, or maybe just slightly more precarious, if not full-on batshit scary scenarios, is to learn, firstly, how to control your mouth, meaning equally your tongue and your breathing. Slow your heart rate and wipe your mind down to a clean, calm, zen-like state. Keep an eyeball on the constant lookout for the nearest exit sign, and just keep moving, keep moving, keep moving, for one would not want to wake or even just faintly stir the shallow, uppermost layers of the dreams of the fabled giant old dragon they say lies snoozing beneath the mountain of gold upon which even the smallest and most unlikely characters such as ourselves occasionally, by wild circumstance, are forced to tread, but still must never ever dare give even the tiniest single thought or drop of sweat to. Taking its sweet time. The wind out here pretty much does whatever it wants, while its counterpart in the city has a few restraints, it seems, that it has to adhere to, at least in theory. Something about the density of man-made structures as windbreaks, which all sounds pretty good, though I've seen wind whip the shit out of big cities that had plenty of windbreaks and structures. But it could just be that out here in the country, the wind can take its sweet time with things, but needs to get a little worked up to go into town. What we're talking about here. What if what we're really talking about here is not merely an issue of wants or desires? Thumbs up for jobs well done or shiny gold stars for outstanding performances and all that, but instead, maybe the genuine need for existential care and treatment. If and when it finally arrives, we have signed off already on the waiver from under economic duress, no doubt agreeing to have our conditions merely stabilized and then be re-released back into the gen pop on our own recognizance to fend for ourselves? Or will we have just forgotten ever having needed help in the first place? Hell, it could be by that time we might not even be the same person anymore who originally placed the call. And while we must have moved on and gotten over it and grown stronger in that stone-faced Nietzschean sense of the word, we might not have ever healed quite right. Neither side likely to concede. Two cows in the middle of a country road, just standing there, gnawing on clumps of grass, it seems, looking at us like a couple of bold-ass trespassers daring to roll up on their turf, unannounced, to desecrate their sacred bovine grazing grounds, which doesn't quite explain why they're standing in the middle of this road of sand and gravel, staring at us as we in turn stare back at them. And it's hotter than Satan's crotch out here, and neither side likely to concede soon. This is called, oh well, whatever. Never mind the owls perched out there on dusk's glowing horizon, or what may or may not be hidden behind the wizard's gently blowing curtains. Never mind the shyly inquisitive praying mantis that currently resides behind your bedside lampshade, or that odd stranger you've recently found wading hip deep with an old kerosene lantern through the swampy backwoods of your dreams. And of course, you can disregard those leaves skittering, scraping, and rattling across that old highway, and the ever-shifting nighttime geometry of satellites, red-eye flights, and other heretofore unidentified objects routinely crisscrossing the sky any given night. No, what you need to know right now is exactly just how many fat, dirty-faced little cherubs with Kool-Aid smiles can do-si-do on the bald head of a bowling pin. But answers like that are hard to find. Oh well, whatever. Never mind.
It's hard to tell where you and that poem begin and end. But, all right. So, with that, I am going to bring up Agnes.
Thank you. I want to read first a poem that is not mine. It's one of my favorite poems by Wendell Berry, and it's very fitting right now.
I read a Wendell Berry poem the other day.
The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, And I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be. I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not text their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. So I got a couple of my own. So this first one I dug out. I wrote that a year ago, and a year ago this month, and it's entitled "I Cannot Write About Alexei Navalny." If you remember, he's the famous Russian dissident that Putin killed February last year. We fall silent before the enormity that seems to require big words, but the big words sound trite and hollow. You feel that you cannot do justice to the big thing with the small words. Try anyway. It is better to write than to remain silent. Every poem is a candle in the night. Its feeble flame illuminates the dark better than waiting for light. Too much. This is a current one. Too much news, too much noise, too much chatter, too much swirling, too much churning in my brain, too much screaming for attention, too much static, too much flickering in my neurons. Too many voices, too many symbols, too many browser tabs, too many Facebook posts, too many uncompleted tasks, too many small cuts scissor the hours into unusable chunks. Too many monumental movements blister my peace. Peace. Exhale. Count 10 fingers, 5 petals, 3 birds on the feeder. Smell lemons, coffee, cedar wood. Touch cotton, marble, pet the cat. Listen to the scratch of pencil on paper. Walk slowly like a tortoise with a clear purpose. Recognize that chaos is the point. Take one miniature action. Awaken to the radical resistance of healing. Refuge. In the dunes by the lagoon, the plovers scurry on the sand like cotton balls pulled on a string. The man with the binoculars patrols the beach, watches over the colony. He counts hatchlings, fledglings, adults, knows how many are born in each quadrant of dune, how many die. Each day he updates the tally on the whiteboard with a marker. He keeps the chicks safe from off-leash dogs and blundering humans. He has faith that he is doing sacred work. It is a hard conviction to retain in a world filled with anguish and sorrow. He copes by caring for a small patch of coastal habitat, and in it for a small bird. He knows some people will object to wasting resources on birds where there are hungry and poor humans. But the plight of the plovers tugs on his conscience, and he knows each precious life has a part in the symphony of creation. It is his calling to provide refuge so the plovers can play theirs. And this poem is a seasonal poem about about my least favorite month of the year. It's called February is a Convincing Liar. Each year I fall for his false promise of spring. When he lures me outside with the first warm days and his sunshine beckons, come. He woos me with his charming smile, and I believe that this time he really means it. And I repress the memory of cold gray weather that always follows the first warm days. How can I assume the worst when he makes me feel wonderful? He brings me flowers, the first green tips of daffodils and snowdrops. He writes songs for me that robins sing on my lawn. I am in denial about February. I should have learned that I cannot trust him one little bit, but he is such a convincing liar. Thank you.
For the longest time, February seemed like the whole entire winter season in Belle. Used to be just the month of February, but lately we get it in January and February too. But Agnes, I wanted to ask you the other day, and I forgot. Is that bookstore in Fulton still open?
I have no idea.
I'm just
I've
curious.
not been back there,
Yeah.
but they have a well-read books. They had a Facebook page, so
Okay.
you can probably find out.
I was just curious. I figured it might be a place that you frequented, so I wasn't
No,
sure.
because my friend who set that up with us, and you remember Byron,
Mm-hmm.
she has given up her fixed abode, and she's been living in an RV for the last 3 years.
Okay.
And doing work camp stuff.
She
so.
seemed like the sort of lady that might do that. That's cool. But, Caitlin, did you want to read something?
I think both Brenda and I do. We just ended up late.
What's that?
So sorry for that.
Sorry I was late. It was at a retirement party, a USGS retirement party. It was very, very quiet. I just made an appearance.
Well,
I'll call her left.
whoever wants to jump in.
I don't care, but I'll go. Sure? You were, okay. Excuse me. No, it's very quiet, and USGS people are usually not quiet, but they're all waiting to hear the news. So, anyway, so I'm sorry I'm late. I think I'll start with John Deere headlights. This is on my trip up to South Dakota. Relentless distance, burned red sunset, sinking into stripped fields, dust hangs like smoke, rolling across metal roofs, seeping through wood planks, shingles, sheds, stirring invertebrates with jointed legs, segmented bodies, and external skeletons. Under a rising crescent moon, John Deere headlights diffusing space at 85 miles per hour. So when they plow the fields, and then all the insects come up, and then your windshield is just like bombarded. Anyway. Okay, so I'm starting kind of a collection on poems about St. Louis, and this is called the Kin-Do Nail Salon. The Kin-Do Nail Salon, situated on Gravois, is next to Ho Chi Noodles, shades of lilac, chocolate brown, gemstone, and mermaid, with designs that include cat eyes, French tips, stripes, stars, and snowflakes, hands waving at kiosks and for card readers, and the Metro coin drop, pausing for effect, hands brushing lightly against hands. And I don't know if anybody's been in Newburgh in here. Yeah, okay. So this is called When a Town Slowly Dies. Sun-bleached flaking paint, faded and tattered, streamers and banners and flags and keep out signs. Boarded up windows no longer warming this home, black and gray asphalt cracking, one continuous pothole narrowing up and up into an Ozark density. Amber saffron tape wrapped around an empty house, a pink house, a burned house, solitary brick chimney rising among chars, antique red fire hydrants pristinely maintained, hoping to save something. maybe one more. This is called Technical Emotions. Generations flow together seamlessly until they don't. Plows to soil, cylinders to steel, blue screen to chips, crossing the threshold, carrying genetics and mitochondria, vaccinating against fears, protection beyond doubt, the interface needing contemplation, eye, hair, skin, other qualities persist, soil, faith, steel, determination, curiosity, creating technical emotions.
I wasn't sure if he was going to talk or not.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Okay, so I'm going to start by reading a poem that I've been listening to a lot lately. It's not mine. It's by a poet named Shane Coizan from Canada. And I really fell in love with his poetry and then bought everything he owned, including the albums in which he places his poems to songs. So this is one of them, and I'm not going to do it justice because it goes to a song, and you should totally listen to it. That's my little pitch for him tonight. So this is called This Is My Voice. This is my voice. There are many like it, but this one is mine. And it's a fine line when you try and define the finer points of politics. Politics being a Latin word, poly meaning many, and ticks meaning blood-sucking butt lumps. See, too many live in countries where bullets instead of ballots, where gavels fall like mallets, when held in the hands of those whose judgments can be bought, as easily as children can be taught to covet, and the only ones willing to speak up are forced to live so far under the radar that the underground is considered above it. This is for the Ho Chi Minhs and the Michael Collins, for the Makeda Assads and the muted gods. This is my voice. There are many like it, but this one is mine. We're not always right, but we've got the right to be wrong. We're not always free, so this is just a short story long. Apologies, all of a sudden I got really choked up. This is my voice, and there are many like it, but this one is mine. And this time it's for the sons and daughters who watch their mothers and fathers drown in shallow waters while panning for the American dream in the polluted creek called the mainstream. This is for the homeless people sleeping on steam vents, making makeshift tents out of cardboard and old trash, trying to catch 40 winks in between the crash of car wrecks, risking their necks by surviving another day, so that they can starve, so that famine can carve their bodies into a corpse before their heart stops beating, so that men in a boardroom meeting can make it harder for them to get welfare, health care. It's no wonder some of them pawn off their own wheelchair, and every time I walk them by, I can't help but feel at fault that maybe I didn't search myself hard enough for the Control-Alt-S so that I could save the world, or at least this little girl, curled up into a ball. I've spent most of my life throwing compassion back like a fish that's too small. Gotta cash in my reality checks just to drop her some spare fantasies, because I've got 3 separate degrees from different universities, but the most valuable thing I ever learned was to believe people when they say please. This is my voice. There are many like it, but this one is mine. I absolutely recommend his album, Long Story Short, Short Story Long. Something like that. When it's put to music, it's beautiful. I listen to it on repeat. I think the world could use a little more of what he's serving up right now.
What's his name?
Shane Coizan. Yeah. I got the privilege of seeing him perform in Kansas City a few years back, and it was amazing. And then meeting him, and he could not believe that we had driven 2 hours from Owensville to come see him, because everybody else in the room was literally from Kansas City. And I was like, I had to come see you. I've become obsessed with your poetry. And he was like, I'm gonna take that as a compliment and be flattered. I was like, you should. I promise I'm not a creepy, obsessed stalker.
He obviously has never heard of the Grateful Dead. Like, people like getting into bands.
Right?
Like, that really isn't that much of a distance.
For me, no, that was nothing. It was nothing. So now I'm going to share 3 of my own pieces that also kind of go along that same line. The first one is hashtag struggling millennial. I'm just a hashtag struggling millennial trying to make it impulse buying my way through depressive episodes because hashtag YOLO. But YOLO isn't just a phrase for us because fuck it if we want to ride this roller coaster more than once. Living through historical event after historical event, we're numb. But that's okay, because our default from birth was numb, and every day we've tried to spin the dial to feel other emotions. Older generations call us lazy, but they mistake lazy for tired. We are tired of trying to survive in a world that is no longer designed for a white picket fence dream. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm choked up. I read in front of you guys all the time. The next one I'm going to read is called Riding the Waves. I picked this one specifically because a lot recently with a lot of craziness going on in the world, in my personal life, I just really wish I could go back to finding this level of calm. And for those who are interested, it's in black and white because my printer was crap. But this poem is based off of this picture here. And what you really can't see is there's a surfer sitting out here right at the riptide, or the wave tide basically, just chilling on a surfboard at a sunset, which the shark phobic side of me was like, get out of the water! But you know. So riding the waves. I watched a man sitting amongst the waves, just him and I along the shore at Galveston Island. And for the briefest of moments, peace seemed palpable. As if for once all seemed as simple as riding the waves, the ins and outs of life coming in lapping waves. And I found myself perfectly balanced, just as he was between the breaks, neither moving forward nor backward. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Contemplating a vast ocean of possibilities with no concern, which direction the next turn might take. It was peace that was fleeting, and explains why surfers must return to the sea to find these moments amongst the waves, feeling harmony, balance, and peace. And then the last one I'm going to read is called Frolic Among the Broken and Dreary, because I think the world right now just needs a little more. It needs a little more kindness, it needs a little more light, it needs creativity from all of us. It just needs a little bit more. So right now, I know you might feel worthless, used, broken, beaten down by a system you no longer believe in. You feel as though you could never be enough, or as though those around you are you are letting those around you down. And this is a horrible feeling that you never deserved. Your brain is playing tricks on you, because the truth is, you are worthy. Your spark shines bright for those around you that see it, even when you feel that it is dark. Your shine emanates from you as a beacon calling forth those who need your love and your warmth and see your worth. It calls forth those who know the world at its darkest and need your beacon to shine their way back into the light. This is your value, and that is your worth. Letting your uniqueness escape into this world, running freely. So frolic among the broken and the dreary, and shine for all of those who need you. Shine for yourself, and make this world just a little more.
You know, Caitlin, you said that is your value, but what I heard is that is your Valium, and I'm like, oh, that sounds lovely.
At this point, I'll go either way.
Yeah, you just need to relax, like, you know, hey. So I'm actually going to read a poem or two by this woman that I found about 6 months ago on Instagram, of all places. This book her name is Brianna Ferguson. The book is called Poor Substitute because she is a substitute school teacher. She lives in British Columbia.
She's absolutely amazing.
She's great. She's wonderful. This press Acid Bath did a great job on this book. And I am a generally disagreeable person that hates most things, but I actually really love this. So this is the last poem in this book. It's called Yellow Okra. Without the words, I'd have to steal enough of your time to tell you I like yellow. But not yellow like dandelions and the sun, more orange than yellow. Nothing blunt or cautionary like a school bus or a frantic light between stop and go. More the yellow-orange of early love and Polaroid sunsets, of big-haired girls in 70s sweater dresses, of the ready Werthers in my grandpa's fingers. Without the words, I'd have to say I'm a girl, of course, but not like the kind with Tampax under the sink or one hand above my belly and one below. I'd have to say sure. I'm a bit like a boy, but only in the blueprint of X and Y's. I'd have to shrug and giggle at the kid question, hurled once or twice a month. Maybe someday, I'd like to say once I'm done focusing on my career. With words like okra and intersex in my taste buds, in my ink, in my fingertips and keyboard, I can fill out a form and shop for paint. With the right words, my thoughts, home, and ID can all look like me. You tell me okra still doesn't cut it, that there are still as many results as there are minds to Google it. And with the right words, I can say that's just fine. In fact, that's the whole point. Yeah, she's got a whole bunch of poems in here, like she's a recovering alcoholic. And so she wrote a bunch of poems day by day. For each day she had given up alcohol. And I think that they're pretty great. I'm not gonna get into those though. I'll read this and that'll be that. It's a poem called Signs. I was born on the summer solstice. Many would claim that makes me pagan and witchy, hot and earthy. I was also born the day the Price is Right model Janice Pennington was knocked out by a TV camera. So maybe from day one, a little whooping inside my head was in the cards. And maybe shit just happens. Born right on the line between spring and summer, Gemini and Cancer, day and night. Auspicious if you're into signs, another June evening if you're not. Whatever confusion came later, from my first breath, there were a few easy boxes to tick. Loved? Yes. Wanted? Yes. Female? Yes. Looks like it. At 20, I got a Gemini tattoo as a nod to the male and female sides, wrestling away inside my intersex skin. I opted for fuchsia, but the color didn't take. I tried again with something darker, but it couldn't stick either, like a nickname I'd chosen for myself. Eventually, I covered it with a deep purple flower, a bruise that never healed right. What's that, people ask now, pointing at the blob. What do you think it is, I say, coy little minx that I am. They all shrug. It doesn't look like anything, really. I'm perpetually on the hunt for something that will actually keep me writing. And it's been a hard season for that. Thankfully, I've been working with the German taskmaster who has kept me on point. And that project is actually done now, Mark. I just finished it all up this month. So it actually will be out May 5th in Berlin. So, but all right. Well, I just want to remind everybody we will be back here March 8th. I'm going to do everything in my power to fill this room for March 8th. And since we're going to know our whole schedule, hopefully try to get as much traffic here as possible. But if you know anyone, if any of you have any friends, I don't have that many, but if you do, bring them here. And we're gonna have different people for you in a lot of cases that we have never had here before. So it should be good. And we've been really fortunate to get funding from Walmart. And hopefully, since I figured out a way to spend all their money, so hopefully they'll give us more money. Because that's the key, just proving that you actually need it. So please, please, please bring your friends, come on out. And I will do my best to keep bringing interesting people here. And I really appreciate you guys being here. So March 8th, which is a Saturday at 6 o'clock, Murray Thomas will be here and he's going to read with Jason. And we should have a good time. And then beyond that, April 5th, Dean McLean and Chad Horn will be here from Kentucky. And I'm really looking forward to that. So, all right. I will see you guys later, unless Mark has something he'd like to add.
I do. Thank you, John. Just a few minutes of your time, everyone. To add on to, first of all, thank you all of you for being here. You are a core group. Thank you for sharing what you do, but also being here in solidarity with each other. To add on what John has said, he kind of blazed over it earlier, and I'm glad you went into it a little bit more. John and I and Ed Gillard, one of our OAC alumni, worked for about 2 years in getting a Walmart grant for $2,000. And what that did was it allowed us to award travel stipends to the creatives. So I'm really thankful because what John just did for us for this year is really move our ask to creatives across the country. And so there's just going to be this amazing wave of more talented people, to include all of yourselves, but more to be here. And that'll just be really lovely. So I just wanted to celebrate that with us, but also thank you, John, for extending out through your network to be able to ask people, creatives, and have a little bit more than just the ask in your hand. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, once I got off of my own behind and I actually got down to it, only took about 2 weeks to get everybody into line. But
thank you so much for that. It's going to be really great. Two, with that kind of momentum, I just want to also share with you, OAC Performing Arts Series has been working with 2 of our alumni to bring comedians from Columbia to Belle. And that's been going on. This will be March will be the 5th month in a row. And that really doesn't necessarily maybe motivate the attendees to open mics and feature readings for literary works, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up that we co-sponsor that with Pageants Pool Hall, and I'm pretty sure all of you have been into our pool hall for maybe a pint or a hamburger, but it's really great because we have had between 50 and 100 people in that space, and it's really what we do here is really crunchy, small town, a lot of that, but that series is really the talent is coming from Columbia, and there are 4 comedy venues in Columbia that are on that national I-70 corridor. So it's national talent that's going there. And they have found this little place also interesting. So they have been coming here. 2 weeks ago, we had weather issues with cancellations and all the things that have been just saturated our lives. But we had 2, because of rescheduling, 2 comedy events 2 weeks in a row. And I guess it was like a week or so ago, we had 5 comedians from Columbia. One of those comedians was from Kansas City. So it's big city comedy. It's really kind of interesting. And since we're live streaming this, I wanted to pitch that and say thank you for that.
One of the best things about that is that it shows that Belle can make fun of itself, which I think is a great thing. People can have a good time.
It is, and there's it's fun. It's fun. So if in fact if you have time, you're very, very busy. I believe I don't have my phone because it's being used for live stream right now, but I believe the next open mic or OAC Performing Arts Series Comedy Night is Friday the 7th, which you'll be here on the 8th. So that's a big weekend for art in for Belle. The other thing is, for those of you that know Elena Samarski, one of our OAC alumni, Elena, this is Elena, and Tim Tarkelli collaborated on this. Elena will be returning to us Thursday for 2 months.
Oh,
So all of you that find, all of you that are friends of theirs, they will be back in Belle. And actually they're bringing some of their family members too. So there's the Samarski tribe will be here. So I just want to give you that. So they are arriving Thursday and they'll be here like 2 months or so. That's it. There's a couple other things going on, but I won't bore you. I've already taken too much of your time. But again, just to bring it back, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you sharing what you do, and we appreciate you being here with each other. Because just in the same love and thought that Caitlin was just sharing with us, we really do need each other, and we need this little thing called art, this big thing called art, in our lives. And that's what, it's a big part of our lives. So I just want to say thank you for having presence in your life to allow art in your life. So thank you. Anything else, John?
No, just March 8th, March 8th, March 8th.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.